All right. Well, welcome everyone. Great to see you all here. I see we've got two chats open, one in Behance, one in YouTube. So please let us know in chat where you're coming from, where you're hailing from. I'm here in Spokane, Washington. Thankfully, our snow has melted off, so we're warming up over here. Who knows if winter's on its way out or if it's here to stay? We'll see. So let us know where you're at in chat. I'd love to say hello. I'm Pete Green. I'm a Photoshop product manager, and I'm happy to be here with you to share more about the Photoshop beta. And looking at the chat here, it's great to see the Valentines here. Hal, good to see you. Multiple Valentines, including Scott. We've got some Photoshop product team members here. I see Jeff Tranberry and Katie and Rocky and Meredith. So a lot of Photoshop members in the chat. I see Clever over there in San Antonio. I bet you're doing a little warmer than we are here in Spokane. AI Tales and Orlando, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Oh, we do have Tomas Zagler here as well. We're going to see more from you a little bit later. And Seth, wonderful. Well, we have a lot to get to today. This is our first beta wave meeting, and also the Photoshop team's first live beta news, where we'll dive into what's new in the Photoshop beta that's available to you all today, or sometimes a little sneak peek at what's coming. And we'll give you a first glance at some of the latest features that we're working on. And this is an opportunity for you to ask your questions with the Photoshop team. They're in the chat right now. We'll do a Q&A towards the end of the meeting. So you can hold your questions until then, or as some of the product managers are presenting, feel free to ask your questions about the features that they're presenting. But we have a lot of good things coming this year, and so we really want to hear more from you about how we can make these features better. And let's start this off. Oliver in the UK, awesome. Welcome. Barbara, I see you as well. Let's start it off with a poll. I know the Photoshop beta is probably new to some of you. Some of you have used it. Maybe some of you haven't. So if we can start that first poll about how many of you have tried the Photoshop beta, you can vote, get this party started. But now the polls are only over in YouTube. And so if you're over on the Behance side and you want to participate in the polls, maybe the moderator can put a link in the chat. I'll go ahead and do that as well. But put a link over to YouTube if you want to participate in the polls. And I think we've got a bunch of questions over the next hour or so. So let us know if you've had a chance to try the Photoshop beta. While that's going on, we have a little bit of background to share that, well, not every Adobe product has an open beta like this, but Photoshop has been having beta versions available for the last 2.5 years. And this is your opportunity. This beta program is your opportunity to try out the cutting edge features and the cutting edge of Photoshop development, and really take part in the development of features and help shape them before they make it into the release version of Photoshop. And so we're going to talk more about how that works and how you can give feedback. Maybe I'll vote as well on this poll. And we do have another poll to bring up as well regarding your experience level. And so it'd be great to learn of everyone that's here live with us. And if you're watching the recording, sorry, we can't get you access to the polls just yet. That's something I think we're going to improve for future live meetings like this. There's Cody with a link to download the beta. Awesome, right there in the chat. Thank you, Cody. I appreciate you. But let us know how experienced you are. And so that's going to help us tailor this and future beta news meetings to help give you the most benefit. And there should be another poll popping up here where you can let us know where you're at with Photoshop. And Ryan in the control room, thank you for managing the polls and flipping the switches for us. All right. We have about 92% of the people who are here. We had 40 votes. 92% have used the beta, but some people have not. About 7% of you have not yet. So click that link if you'd like that Cody shared, and that'll take you into the Creative Cloud desktop app where you can download the Photoshop beta and get access to some of the features that you'll see today, and also access to features as they come to the beta. So regarding feedback, I mean, that's what this beta program is really all about. As we develop new features, we really need to hear and we love to hear your feedback, and it helps us know if we're building things in the right direction. And there's a couple ways that you can give us feedback to help us build a Photoshop with you. And so, Ryan, if I can share my screen here, we can talk a little bit about those ways that you can give feedback around these features beforehand. And let me know when that's available so we can. All right, appreciate it. So I've got a browser open here, and right now I'm Google searching for the Photoshop beta forum. And if you search for that, it'll pretty much be the first thing that pops up here. There's a couple different posts, but that's one way to get access to the Photoshop beta forum. Or if you're in our community forums, which is community.adobe.com, and you're in the photography section, it's one of the featured communities down here, the Photoshop beta community, and that'll look something like this. And we tend to, when we have new features available in the beta, we'll put a post in here and we'll pin it and feature it and give you a place that you can see what's new, and also give us feedback. So you'll be interacting directly with the product managers that are developing that feature. We'll have the development team and QE coming in and interacting with you and responding to the things you have to say so that we know that we're building things in the right way. So that's one way that you can give feedback. And the next one would be in the Photoshop beta itself. So for those of you who are just downloading it, there's a special panel here. So under Window, Beta Feedback, if you go to the Beta Feedback panel, or you can just click this Erlenmeyer flask at the top, that'll pop open this same panel. And this is the Beta Feedback panel, where you can start with an overview. It'll let you know if there are features for you to review, and also which version you're using. And we're releasing new versions every week pretty much. So this version number is going to be changing. This is also quick access to the beta community. These will pop open your browser and you can report a bug if you see a bug, and that's really helpful if you do. You can visit the community itself if you want to just browse around and provide feedback on features. But then we have this review section over here on the left, where, so for instance, we're going to talk a little bit about this particular feature, the importing and exporting of custom adjustment presets. But this is another place where you can let us know what you think. You can also learn about the feature, but then let us know. There's one question here that we're asking: is this feature ready to be released? And you can say yes, or you can say no. And be honest, let us know. We want to hear from you what you really think. If it's not ready, let us know down in the comment box why you chose what you did. If it is ready, let us know how it's improving your workflow, or what this feature is doing for you. So any additional color that you can provide here in the feedback panel, that's really useful, again, for the team that's building these features. Let us know what works for you and what doesn't, and so on. All right, so I think that's it for my particular screen share. And we talked about beta versions coming out like rather frequently. About every week we release a new beta version. And this is because we either have new features, like some of what you're going to see today, or we have updates to the features. Maybe we've made them better based off of your feedback, or maybe we've fixed some bugs that were affecting you. So if you've reported bugs, or maybe internally we found some bugs that we needed to fix, we're releasing these bug fixes fast, and we want to get them to you as early as possible. So we're working on a way to provide more info with each beta build. Right now, we don't have some build notes inside the app, but that is something that we're hoping to do in the future. So for those of you who are downloading the beta build and don't yet know what's in the build, we appreciate you downloading it, trying it out, and giving us feedback, letting us know if things are working for you. So I think we're in end of January now. We've released 3, maybe 4. I think one's coming out this week. And today we've got a couple demos to show. So we have a couple product managers who are going to come onto the stage, and they're going to show their new features that are available in the Photoshop or going to be available in the Photoshop beta. And so first up will be Noelle. And I think we're going to start with a video. So Ryan, when you're ready, let's go ahead and play Noelle's video, and then Noelle will be back to talk through what she and the team have been working on.
And I'm excited to be sharing a new feature with you all today called the adjustment brush. This will be coming into the beta app tomorrow morning on Thursday. So once you've updated your application, it should be there and available for you to use in beta. You access the tool in the toolbar. So once you've updated, if you go over to your brush icon in the toolbar and press and hold or right click, you'll see adjustment brush tool as the second option there. So the adjustment brush tool, our goal is making local adjustments easier to do. So if you just wanted to add an adjustment to one area of your image, so in this example, if I just wanted to brighten the clouds, I'd have to make a selection, edit my layer mask, understand my adjustments. So this tool consolidates those into one step so that you can literally just paint on an effect. And I'll demo that for you today. So if I select the adjustment brush tool, you'll see a new contextual taskbar updates here. And from this contextual taskbar, I can select the adjustment I'd like to apply. I can also refine my brush size and hardness. And all of these things you can do from the tool options bar up at the top. If you're not using the contextual taskbar or you don't see the contextual taskbar, you could always perform these actions up here as well. But for today, I'll use the contextual taskbar. So brightness contrast is the default adjustment type. And you can come down here and select something else if brightness contrast is not what you want to apply. But just like a paintbrush, anywhere else, you need to load it with your adjustment before you can apply it. So if you don't do anything and you just paint, brightness contrast is what you'll paint. So if you don't want that, choose a different one. But for today, right now, I do want brightness contrast, and I want to brighten up these clouds in my reflection. You can see my paintbrush is really big, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to bring that size down a little bit. Oh, it's a little too small. Come back up. Okay, that looks good. And then I want to bring the hardness way down too. So you'll see now, as soon as I mouse down, a few things will happen. First, you see those clouds brighten up immediately. So I'm seeing my adjustment applied in real time. Also, as soon as I clicked down and started to paint, an adjustment layer was created with a layer mask. So again, multiple steps being combined into one. Once I've, sort of painted or started to paint and I've decided, this is a little bit brighter than I was hoping for, I can come over to my properties panel and I can adjust those settings. So we selected default values for brightness and contrast and for all of the adjustments in this tool so that you see the effect in real time. But we know that every image is different. The effect that you want to see is relative to the rest of your image, and that these values will not be right probably nearly ever, but they're a starting place. And from there, I can say, this is a little too bright. I want to pull it back. I want to bring the contrast down a little bit. I'm happy with that. Now, from here, I can continue to add, so I can brighten up, maybe the clouds down here or in this bottom part of my picture. I could also turn on the overlay. So I'm not really getting a really clear sense of how the adjustment is being applied down here. I can turn on my overlay and I can see, okay, exactly where I was painting. I can come in and bring my bring my brush size down. If I wanted to make really small, detailed selections, I can also use my brush to remove something. So I did a little too much there and come out and cut it out. Again, trying to give you, the tools that you'll generally need to perform this task. So now I'm going to turn my overlay off. I'm happy with that. At this point, you can add another adjustment if that's something you wanted to do. And you can do that two ways. The first is I can add my adjustment from this button in the contextual taskbar. Doing this, I can choose brightness contrast again so that I have a second brightness contrast layer with different brightness contrast values. Or I can choose one of the other 5 options: exposure, vibrance, hue, saturation, black and white, or photo filter. The second way to add a new adjustment would be to go back to my pixel layer. And what that does is sort of resets the tool, because I'm still on the tool. I still have the tool selected in my toolbar. It pops me back to that original contextual taskbar. So from here, I still have those same options. But I also have select subject. And if you have used select subject elsewhere in Photoshop, this functions in the same way. It will select my most prominent subject and apply the adjustment to that subject. So I want to make my mountain range black and white. So what I'll do is select black and white, and I'll hit select subject. And you'll see it sort of did the same thing. It created a layer mask on this black and white adjustment layer for me, selecting my mountain range. And then once that's done, I get popped to that second contextual taskbar so I can continue to refine the area of my image that had this effect applied. I want to see that overlay again so I can really see what was caught. See, they caught some of my reflection. I don't want that. So I'm going to come in here and just make sure I have remove selected and just kind of undo that, because I just wanted the mountain range selected, not the reflection. Something else that's fun though, I can invert my my selection. So I hit select subject and applied black and white to my mountain range, but I've decided I actually want the background to be black and white and I want the subject to be color. So in this contextual taskbar, I can hit invert mask and you'll see it just sort of flips it. So now my mountain range is in color, my background is black and white. Again, I can hit that overlay if I want to get some really detailed areas that I can't see as well on my screen. Or I can work on it without the overlay if I want to see the effect in real time. And I'm happy with that. So from there, you can continue to add adjustments or you can move on. But that is sort of the quick overview of the new adjustment brush. So again, this will be in beta tomorrow. Please play around with it. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're really excited for users to start using this feature. We've been working on it for a while. So please share feedback. Please try it out. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Noelle. Thanks for watching that video and sitting through it. I know it was a longer one, but really wanted to demo this feature. We're excited about it coming into beta tomorrow. So I know you haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, especially if you are not in our pre-release audience. So this is your first time getting your hands on it, but we're going to post a couple poll questions. Like Pete mentioned, this feedback is so valuable. We wanted to get this feature into beta to get it tested, to start, getting more feedback from all of you. So these 3 polls will be the start of that, and I'll read through them really quickly. But the first one is, how likely do you think you are to use the adjustment brush? So the first answer is likely. Maybe, I already know how to make a local adjustment, but I will use this tool. The second option is likely, but I currently struggle to make local adjustments. So if you don't really know how to do a local adjustment yet and you think this tool will be helpful, the third option is unlikely. I already know how to make local adjustments and I don't anticipate using this tool. And the fourth option is unlikely. I don't know how to use local adjustments, but I also don't think I'll use this tool. So if you could provide an answer, that would be awesome. And like I said, I know you haven't had a chance to play with it yet, so this is just sort of based on what you saw in the video a couple minutes ago.
I'm not seeing the poll show up.
Oh, poll is coming, I guess. I guess poll is still coming.
It is. It's not.
Oh, awesome. It's live. So again, first option, likely, and I already know how to make an adjustment. Second option, likely, but I struggle to make a local adjustment specifically to one area of your image. Third option, unlikely, even though, I already know how to make a local adjustment. And fourth option is I don't know how to make a local adjustment, but I don't anticipate using this tool.
Awesome. Both are coming in quick.
Awesome. Okay, well, can we roll into the second poll then, if we've got that one set? So the second one is about the select subject workflow I demoed. So if you remember in that first contextual taskbar, you can either paint your adjustment on, or you can use select subject to choose your most prominent subject, and it will instantly apply that preset adjustment value. In my example, I did a black and white for the mountain range. And so for this question, how do you feel about the select subject workflow with the adjustment brush? The first option is I would use select subject, and I like how it's currently working, where you see the adjustment applied immediately in one click. The second option is I would use select subject, but I would prefer to see the subject I'm selecting first. So more similar to how it works in other areas of the product where you see like marching ants around your subject that you've selected, and then you would apply your adjustment. And then our third option is I don't think I would use select subject at all with this feature. I think I'm reading my poll questions more quickly than they're coming up. So I think it is coming.
Might be time for a dad joke.
Yeah, are the rest of us muted, Ryan? All right. Hi, everyone.
Good. I'm not alone up here.
That's right.
There we go. I know we had to shorten the answers. There's a character limit max, so I'll just read through them again. So how do you feel about the select subject workflow with the adjustment brush? And the first option is I like how it's currently working, where you select subject from the contextual taskbar and it applies your adjustment immediately in one click. The second option is I would prefer to see the subject I'm selecting before I apply my adjustment. So more like how it works in other areas of the application where you have your marching ants around your subject and then you apply your application at that point. I'm sorry, your adjustment at that point. And then the third option is I don't think I would use select subject with the adjustment brush.
All right, so we've had requests for dad jokes and we've had not. So let's just try one. We'll test the waters. Pete, I told a joke in a Zoom meeting and no one laughed. It turns out I'm not remotely funny.
Yeah, well, I've been telling everyone about the benefits of eating dried grapes, and that's all about raising awareness.
Oh, Chad's even thrown something in. What generation was Forrest Gump?
All right. I am ready for the third and last poll question. So thank you, Cory and Pete. Appreciate the dad jokes. So third question is when making an adjustment, how often do you find yourself adding multiple adjustments to the same area of your image? So if you have selected an area and wanted to make a local adjustment of one type, and then you wanted to make a second adjustment to that same exact area, do you find yourself doing that often? And do you find it an easy task to perform? So option one, I do that often, and I find that an easy task to perform. Option two, I want to do that often, but I find it difficult and tedious to do. Option three is I do not do that often, and it's not a part of my workflow. I'm not really interested in applying multiple adjustments to the same area of my image. And option four is I don't do that often. I'd like to, but I find it too complicated. But that sounds appealing to me. I'd like to do that. So do we have that last poll up? I don't see it.
There it is. Yeah.
Read through them again. So when making an adjustment, how often do you find yourself wanting to add multiple adjustment types to the same area of your image? I find it something I want to do often, and I think it's an easy task to perform. I think it's difficult and tedious to do, but I often find myself wanting to do that. The third answer is it's not a part of my workflow, and I don't often find myself wanting to do that. And the fourth is I'd like to, but it's too complicated, so I don't often perform that task. An easy task to perform. I think anyways, that's it for me. Thank you all. We're going to post a thread in the beta community forums that Pete showed earlier. So we'll have that up tomorrow morning. Once you have access to the feature, please play with it and give us feedback there. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Not yet. No, we'll
Straight to me.
we can we could go straight to Cory from there. Next up is Cory. Take it away, Cory.
Hey, everybody. My name is Cory Shubert, and I'm a product manager on the Photoshop team. Many of you might already know about the adjustment presets panel that was introduced in beta last year. But for those of you who may not know about it, I would like to share a quick walkthrough as well as a new update that the team released at the beginning of this year. I also would like to let you know about a very cool custom preset that one of our Adobe certified experts, Scott Valentine, has created, and we'll talk about how we'll share it with all of you. So that's it. That's the intro. Let's go to the video. When you open a file, you will see the contextual taskbar at the bottom of the image. If you click on the circle that's half black and half white, it will bring the Adjustment Presets panel in focus. As you mouse over the default presets, you will see your image reflect the settings of the preset. Click More to expand the list. If you click on one, you will see a new layer in your stack. Let's say I like Color Pop for this image, and when I click on the icon, you will see it apply to your image and the new layer appear in your layer stack. If you decide to make some adjustments to the preset, you can then save it as a new one. Let's double-click on the adjustment preset that was applied, Vibrance, and let's add even more to it. Clicking back to the Adjustment Presets window will now allow us to save this new preset. Click the plus icon in the Your Presets section and give your new setting a name, and click Save. With the recent update, you can now import or export your custom presets. Click on the hamburger menu at the top of the panel and select Import Presets. Navigate the new preset you want to add and select it, and then click Open. Now it will show in your presets window. Now that you know how to import a custom preset, we would like to share one that our good friend, author, teacher, and Adobe certified expert has shared with us. Please welcome Scott Valentine and his black and white Control Freak adjustment preset. Scott, it's all yours.
Hi, this is Scott Valentine. I have a black and white Control Freak adjustment preset I want to show you today that I really enjoy because it gives me a lot of granular control over individual colors and how they get converted to gray. This particular technique I've been using for more than 10 years, but it's difficult to share with people because it uses a lot of adjustment layers, 5 in fact, and it gets a little bit complicated to try and explain how to set everything up. Fortunately, with this preset, I can make it very, very easy to share. So in this Mesa image, there is a lot of detail hidden in this rock at the top, and there's some texture in this area down here that is a little bit covered up by glare. So we want to find a way to control these colors in their conversion to gray. I've also included a spectrum so you can see exactly what's going on. The default conversion here is not very exciting. In fact, it's intentionally neutral. The reason for that is because I didn't want to bias anybody by having some preset that said, ooh, this might be good enough. I want people to get in there and actually work with these controls. The first adjustment at the very top here is a custom 12-zone gradient map. This gives you very fine control over transitions between gray values, similar to Ansel Adams' approach of specifying different gray values as zones. So you can see right away we're already getting a little bit more detail in there. There we go. And what's nice about this, because it's non-destructive, we can go back and tweak it later and really refine it after we've adjusted some of the colors. All right, so the next step is to move down one into the black and white adjustment layer, and it is set to luminosity blending. You'll notice that it doesn't actually change anything. The default transition, or the default preset from that ships with Photoshop, actually has somewhat of a bias, and it's not neutral. This one is neutral, and it is one that I made custom that also ships with this. Let's go ahead and start by darkening the sky. I'm going to bring this down quite a bit to get that Ansel Adams effect. There we go. And you can see there's still some area in here that didn't quite get affected, so I'm going to drop down the cyans to finish that off. Okay. Let's look in the shadows and take care of some of the magenta from the cast there. Not much is going to be happening in the green. If we slide this around, you can see the spectrum moves, but nothing in the image moves. That's okay. There is quite a bit of information in the yellow, so I want to darken that so I have more overhead. And there's even more in the red. And we'll give ourselves some latitude to play with that in the coming steps. All right, now we have color balance. I'm going to start with the midtones. Now I'm going to change the relationship here between these primary and complementary colors. Let's go ahead and bring that up. There we go. And we'll move from cyan to red. And some of these transitions, some of these changes are going to be very subtle. They don't really show up too well on some of these demos, but they are important later on. Let's go ahead and move to the shadows, and I'm going to bring more of the red in, and we'll get rid of some of the magenta, and then we'll start favoring the yellow in the shadows. That gives us a little more detail, if you notice right in there. Okay. And finally, in the highlights, let's give a little more to the cyan, a little more to the magenta, and a little more to the blue. There we go. Now you can see when I change some of those colors, we've got a little bit extra right there. So we can go back into our black and white, and we can drop that cyan down just even a touch more. There we go. We can jump into selective color next. And this is where you can get really, really uptight about your color control, because you can actually change the pigments that go into each of the colors. I'll start with a neutral, and I'm going to bring the yellow down a little bit. There we go. That has the effect of brightening up because I'm removing yellow from the mix. And let's go ahead and, I don't think we'll do much with the magenta. And let's bring down the cyan just a touch. Okay. Let's adjust the whites now. There we go. See, we've recovered some of that texture detail right there. And let's bring down the yellow to lighten it just a touch. Okay. Now finally, we can go into the yellow itself and adjust its own personal mix. So let's start by increasing how much yellow is in the yellow dye. And Let's give it a little more magenta, and we're doing this so we can separate out the cyan, which is actually going to come down. There we go. So this is what the selective color transition has done. See, we've got a lot more detail. We've reduced the contrast, but we've preserved the detail. Hue and saturation gives us a final opportunity to kind of sweep the colors and change which ones are actually being involved in the contribution to grayscale. So that's where we started. That's where we ended. Notice there's a lot of information that we've just completely lost in the spectrum, but we've got a lot more detail in these target areas up at the top. And in the end, we can come up with something like this that is even more detailed. It takes a little bit more time to get to, but this all relies on having that absolute control over each of the colors. This is a 16-bit image, and I'll show you one that also had some challenges. This image of Balboa Park is shot at night, but it really wasn't. It was shot in the evening. One of the challenges with this kind of sky is that you get this halo transition between these light and dark areas, and I was able to solve that by having very good control and still not losing the articulation in the shadows here. So you can see things have smoothed out. We've got a better focus or visual point focus on this because I was able to control each of the colored elements. And finally, let's get a little bit geeky and take a look at what's going on in a more detailed fashion. This is an RGB spectrum that is pretty straightforward, right? It's just the same gradient on each of the 3 channels, and we have actual color mixing on the canvas. We're not going to do anything with the gradient map at the moment, but here's the default transition. You can see it's a little darker in the blues. Let's go ahead and make some dark points, and we'll get a geometric pattern out of this. You can see that by adjusting the sliders, I am controlling very discrete parts of this RGB triangle. Right? And in this way, we can actually balance the contributions so that they all look fairly similar. In this way, it would be possible to create a look where a blue and a red both translate to the exact same gray value. We can also adjust the complementary colors. Let's make them brighter in the center, around their peaks. There we go. All right. Let's take a look at color balance now, and we'll find out kind of why it's called color balance. We've got this transition between magenta and green. If we move this slider, we're actually changing that neutral point that's in the middle. Let's see, that's our technically a neutral area. We can do the same thing along yellow and blue, and cyan and red. This also has an impact in the shadow area, and you can see that change is a little bit different. It's affecting different values instead of just the hues. Let's go ahead and tweak that a little bit. There we go. Now let's look at selective color, and again with the neutrals, if I change the pigments that contribute, you can see not only are we moving things around a little bit, we're also creating some peaks and valleys in the brightness. If we look at a specific pigment, say just the yellow, and adjust its mix, not much happens except just a tiny bit of brightness for its prime pigment. But if we change some of the other components, look at that, we can sweep those translations into gray. All right, and let's go ahead and put this in the center again. Now, hue and saturation is frequently expressed in degrees. In fact, we have a hue wheel. Well, this is a great visual demonstration of why it's considered a wheel. If we translate hue back and forth, we're actually rotating those colors. All right. Now that we've got this, let's take a look back at the gradient map and see what we can adjust here. Those peaks can be moderated a bit by smoothing out those transitions. And whereas you might have halos around color transitions, you can use this part of the process to smooth those things out or to enhance contrast. Basically do whatever you like with it. And so that is the black and white Control Freak adjustment preset. I've loved it for a very long time, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with everybody in a very easy package. Thank you.
So there it is. We'd love to hear your feedback as you use adjustment presets, and a huge shout out to Scott for sharing this amazing preset. I think if you get in there and dig around, you're going to find some amazing results from it. And we'll post Scott's preset on the Photoshop beta forum, so be sure to check for that. And now I just want to go through the results of the poll because it's pretty interesting here. It looks like the majority of people think the presets are great as they are, or you want to minimize and hide it. What's missing? All of the above: organize, sort. Okay. Now you can import, export. How often do you see using them? Now and then, 60%. And I don't know yet. Fair enough. That's great. We hope you do use them and see how they can fit into your workflow. So thanks again, everybody. Thanks again, Scott. And now we'll throw it to Pete.
Awesome. Thanks, Cory. And you're right. If you haven't used them, go try them out in the Photoshop beta, and you can try exporting and importing. We're actually going to, because this is a new file type, new file extension, the community forums aren't quite built out such that we can share them or directly attach them to forum posts. But we'd love to provide a way that you could share them with each other, including sharing this preset from Scott. So we're going to figure that out, that we might be doing some renaming to text files and sharing through the community that way until we can actually get support for the PSAP file type. So look out for that in the beta community. We'd love to see what you guys create and share with each other. But thank you, Noelle. Thank you, Cory, and thanks to Scott for some awesome demos. We do have one more segment before we get into the Q&A that we call the Plugin Showcase, where we invite community plugin developers to show off these awesome plugins that they're developing. And Ingo Eichel is here to take us through today's showcase.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. And great to see you, everyone here. It's for a good reason that we, from the extensibility team, have the last part of this show, since it's so great what the Photoshop team is doing and how they introduce new features again and again. But sometimes this may just be not enough. So you may have another feature request. You may want to automate Photoshop more deeply. You want to connect with different services. And this is where plugins are a good help. And our team works with developers who build plugins or integrations to Creative Cloud apps or Adobe Express. I have seen some of them already here in the chat. And today we want to present a new plugin from Thomas Zagler, who has built many of them for Photoshop, but also for other apps. We will see, I think, in a second from Ryan also a short view to our plugin showcases on Behance. We will share the link in the chat also in a bit. This is where we give you some ideas for different plugins. On the mood boards, you can select them by Creative Cloud app and just find out what cool Photoshop plugins have been released recently. This is not a full list for sure. It's just a few sneak previews. And one of them you will see now from Thomas Zagler, who also gives you a 20% discount within the next 10 days, also in the chat in a second. Thanks, and over to Thomas.
Hello, my name is Thomas Zagler. I'm a developer for plugins for Adobe apps. And in the following video, I would like to introduce you to my latest plugin CR2 for Photoshop. It allows you to easily create your own panels using drag and
Awesome. Thank you, Ingo. Thank you, Tomas. That plugin, that panel looks super useful. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. And I think I heard that there's a 25% off. So Ingo is going to pop a discount code in the chat. That's over on YouTube. Ingo, I'm going to copy that and bring it over to the Behance chat as well. There it is in the Behance chat. If you want to grab Thomas's latest plugin, feel free to go do that. That'd be awesome. So we have about, what is this, 8 minutes left, a little less than 10 minutes for a Q&A section. So let's maybe dive right into that. So if anyone is here and has some questions, we do have product team members, developers right in, I think both of the chats actually. So thank you, team members, for being here. But if anybody has any questions, pop them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer with the remaining time that we have. For anybody that's maybe just joining or just joined recently, this, of course, is going to be available after the fact. So you can watch the recording, you can rewind it. And then not only can you watch this show, but you can watch all kinds of other content on Adobe Live, even if we're not directly online live in the moment. So there's a ton of recordings. There's been a lot of great content. Earlier today, I saw Terry White, and I didn't see all the other illustrators that were going on, but there's already been a lot of great content today, and there's even a lot more coming on throughout the day. And I believe Wednesday is Photoshop Day. So we'll just see if we have any questions in the chat. Tony asks, can we ask questions that don't relate to today's content? And absolutely, feel free, depending on how much we're thinking into the future, we can only answer maybe, we'll answer what we can. We'll say what we can, but absolutely, any questions that you have, we and the Photoshop team are here for you, and we'd love to hear from you. Hal is definitely going to watch the demos again. Yeah, I think you're going to have to watch Scott's demo like 6 times to understand everything that went on there. At least I know I did. It was very much over my head. And maybe we don't have any questions for today. Marcy is asking, I was late. Where is the community you mentioned? Well, maybe we'll talk again about how are the best ways to give feedback. Ryan, would you mind? There's a link, Cody. Thanks. You rock, Cody. Would you want to throw back to my screen share, Ryan? And I'll just show that really quickly. There we go. So here's the browser. You can Google search the Photoshop Beta Forum, or you can go to community.adobe.com, and in the photography section, you can access the Photoshop Beta. And this is what it looks like. There are going to be, you can create new posts, new threads. You can report bugs in the bugs section. You can give feedback. So, if you had feedback on the contextual taskbars, or we talked about adjustment presets today, you could go into that featured thread and give feedback there, or create your own. Also, right there inside of Photoshop, let's say you didn't want to go to the community. In the window beta feedback panel right here, this flask, you can also rate the features. So importing and exporting the custom presets, you can say, is this ready or not to be released? Let us know what you think and give us feedback right there. So either of those places, in the community, that's awesome. In the app, that's also awesome. Those are the best places to provide beta feature feedback. Thanks for that, Ryan. Sure. Why don't you bring my stream on back? And I've got the Creative Cloud desktop up. We did have some people in here that hadn't downloaded the Photoshop beta. So if you have the Creative Cloud desktop installed, you can go to the apps section. And on the left-hand side, there's your beta apps. And from there, of course, I have it installed. but you've got various Adobe beta apps, and you got your video applications, Premiere and Character Animator and Illustrator, and you can install the Photoshop beta right there to get access to the latest features. Again, we release updates about every week, and so that'll show up under the updates section. I did just update mine today, so it looks like it's updated recently. But after you install it, be sure to check the update section of the Creative Cloud desktop to get the latest versions. Looking back into the chat, I see a couple questions come in. Why were no mention of the parametric filters? Would love to see that in the final release. Well, it's still in the beta, and absolutely, try them out. Let us know what you think. Let me check if that's in the, that's in the beta feedback panel as well. And so if you're happy with where those are at, let us know. If you think there's still room for improvement, maybe say it's not ready yet, and here's why. So that is still available in the beta under filter and parametric filters. So those are still available. Marcy mentions uninstalling the beta because it took over the file association with PSDs. And yeah, you're right. That can be a challenge. Depending if you're Mac or Windows, you can also go in and reset that. You can also use Bridge to set that association, but that's something that I think we would love to solve for, is how do we not take over the PSD default application file association with the install, especially since the beta is updating so frequently. Tony's asking about the next dot version of the release version of Photoshop, and maybe we can't give any specific dates yet, but as just a general thing, we tend to release about once a month. So you can look out for it, as Joel says, soon TM. Albedo is asking, where do I find the black and white preset? Let me bring my chats over here so I'm not looking so far away from the camera. So the black and white preset, it's a great question. It's an amazing preset that Scott's been made available. We're going to figure that out. We don't have that quite solidified. It's going to be in the beta community though. So look out for a place in the beta community, a thread where you can share adjustment presets with each other. And I believe most likely Cory, who demoed today, will be creating that thread. And so you can find it in the beta community soon, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I think by the end of the week, we'll have figured something out. But again, the forum software doesn't yet support the PSAP file type. So it's coming to the forums. Windows, it won't reset. Marcy, if you I think you hold shift and right click on a file, you can say open with, and when you choose open with, you can say always choose this type. And so you could go select the release version of Photoshop. Awesome. I think that's all of the questions that I can see there in the chat today. And so maybe we'll wrap it up right there. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to the presenters, Cory, Noelle, Ingo, Thomas, Scott, for showing some awesome new features. We hope to do this again. Right now, we're thinking like the end of each month, probably on a Wednesday, maybe at the same time. I know this isn't the best time for every time zone, but at least the recordings will be available. So I really appreciate all of you, both internal team members and everyone who came and viewed both on Behance and both on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating and voting in the polls, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for Ryan in the control room for handling all the switches, and for Cody in the chat for managing all of the links and the back and forth. And we'll see you guys again next time.